What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Lex News. Welcome to another episode, and this one has a lot of drama in it, guys. As always, 4 different segments in this episode. Car news, we'll go over anything and everything car related. Turbo trends, where we'll discuss market trends and everything that's happening in the car market and how the sales doing, especially for 2025. Of course, there's the Motor Mania, where we discuss different and unique and custom builds that may have been happening in the world that you guys probably didn't know about. And the last segment is Did You Know? So we'll go over some pretty cool stats and facts and things like that you might be interested in. But let's start the episode with some Carvana drama, guys. So first things first, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen some of those very massive vehicle vending machines out on the road whenever you're on the highway. They like to put them in places where everybody can see. That is Carvana. And they have a very, very big business. Actually been around since 2012, and they really expanded in the last few years until about 2022, 2023, when they started running into some bankruptcy issues and things like that, where the sales were dropping. The management was also having some issues. Well, in 2024, they reported one of the best years ever. Their stock prices went 284% higher than the years before. That is a substantial increase in revenue and income for the business, especially in the last quarter of 2024. So, everything looks good on paper. It's a beautiful picture that they drew up for everybody. But according to the Hindenburg report that they just released a few days ago, that is not the case. Let me break it down for you. So you have Carvana, that is owned by Ernest Garcia II, and you have Drive Time, which is owned by Ernie Garcia III. Ernie Garcia, turns out, is the father of Ernest Garcia. So Drive Time and Carvana are related in many different ways. The reason why the books all of a sudden started looking good for Carvana is because, well, turns out they've been intermingling some businesses and moving some money around and moving some losses around as well. So Carvana obviously makes the money by selling cars. Well, whenever the car prices and the car market dropped in 2024, Carvana was like, if we bought this car for $20,000, I can't discount it under $20,000 or else it's going to show as a loss on the vehicle. And too many losses going to make the books look pretty bad. So why not move that vehicle and sell it to Drive Time for a profit of some sort and make it look like we're making money on every deal? So Drive Time, it looked like, was the scapegoat for a lot of these deals. So while the books on Carvana look good, Drive Time was definitely failing in its own sense. Same thing was happening with warranties. Turns out over 40% of Carvana deals that they did financing wise were to subprime credit. So you have prime credit, which is usually about 700 or 730 credit score and higher. People that you don't have to worry about not making their payments or having issues with loans and high credit card usage and things like that most likely will default on the loan. Then you have subprime, which is under 730 and 700. So 600, 500, 400 credit score. Those people usually have to worry about. And a lot of banks will not take those loans, especially wouldn't even pass through their algorithm when that loan gets submitted. A lot of people don't know this either, but Ernie, the owner of Drive Time, has been slowly selling his stocks in Carvana. Now, when I say slowly, they're still in big amounts. So while he's making millions and billions off of these sales, Carvana is actually taking in real life that investors have no idea about. So while they're still showing good profits on the books and everybody's buying into it, turns out it's actually a failing business. If the SEC digs deep enough, I know for a fact that Drive Time and Carvana are going to be in some deep problems. Now, as someone, I worked at a dealership for 6 years and in financing and things like that, I'll tell you that one thing you don't want is any auditors or problems with the DMV inspector. And when somebody brings up the DMV inspector, that is a big deal, because that means every book, every deal, every loan is going to be looked at to make sure nothing was falsified, nothing was over exaggerated to the banks to make sure that they buy the deal. Now let's move on to the second car news right now. I hate when the news spins a story, a very sad story, a traumatic story, into some sort of a reason to push an agenda or something like that. In this case, we're talking about the Louisiana Attack, where the F-150 guy drove it through the crowd, through the main strip out there in Louisiana on New Year's Eve, or I'm sorry, the New Year's Day or New Year's night. And now, according to the ABC News, this wouldn't have happened if the vehicle was autonomous. Now, whether you believe that every vehicle should be autonomous or not, or should be robotically driven or driven like Teslas where they can, for the most part, drive themselves, that's totally up to you. But the fact that the news coverage is going to spin it as, oh, we should definitely push the autonomous vehicles and that That should be the new way of going forward. You should be able to drive it. It should stop itself. It should be completely controlled through computers. That's also someone's opinion, guys. I want you to comment down below. What do you think about the autonomous vehicles? As somebody that owns a Tesla Model Y, I never ever use the full self-driving mode because it really does freak me out. And in fact, it's put me in some situations where it forgets where the lines are and it wanted to throw me into the barrier on the highway going 60, 70 miles an hour. I think we're still very far away in the future before that's ever going to be something that's can be accepted and used daily. It could have happened autonomous or not autonomous. If it was autonomous, somebody could have took control of it different ways and I've been inside the vehicle and done the same thing. So different ways to look at it. Let's move on to turbo trends, where we'll talk about different market trends and what is happening, especially for 2025. What should we look for? What do you think of Mazda, guys? What do you think of the Mazda brand overall? As someone that worked at a Toyota dealership, it was actually cool to get a Mazda in on trade, because whenever you sit inside one of those, turns out they share a lot of the same Toyota technology. That is the reason that their sales have actually drastically and dramatically increased in the last few years. In 2023, they sold 360,000 units. 2024, 420,000. That's 60,000 more vehicles, and they're projected to do well over 450,000 units in 2025. Mazda has been one of those companies that people slept on, and in fact, a lot of the manufacturing locations where they build Toyotas, they also build the Mazdas as well. Turns out a lot of the hybrid technology that Toyota uses, they share with Mazda on their vehicles. Also, they're coming out with new hybrid vehicles as well. So it's going to be interesting to see that, guys. I would definitely pay attention. I think they're starting to look a lot better and better. It used to be, to me, like a tier 2, tier 3 type of brand, but now they're really popping off, and hopefully they get some sports cars in. I wouldn't mind trying one of those. Now, if you guys never heard of a Cox Automotive, they are a very good and very informative automotive blog and website. And they just released a news article for 2025 where they are saying 1 in every 4 vehicles on the road in 2025 in the US is going to be an EV, an electric vehicle, guys. That is crazy to think about, that we've came such a long way that every 4th car out there is going to be some sort of a plug-in, whether it is a Tesla or another brand. And speaking of Tesla, it turns out in 2021, 80% of the electric vehicles were owned by Tesla, which makes sense because they owned the biggest share of the market and they were pumping them out and everybody was hyped about them, especially 3 years ago. In fact, in 2024, Tesla's market share dropped to 50%. So every other electric vehicle you see on the road is a Tesla. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in 2025, especially with the new president coming in, if the tax credit goes away, as well as they are making them a little bit more budget friendly now with the cheaper options coming out. Model 3 prices, MSRPs are dropping. And let's move on to Motor Mania. And today we're going to talk about RWB. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the actual name, but I will post it down here. RWB is the company that does super custom body kits for Porsche 911s. I had to dive into this because I've always wanted to learn about it. Turns out it is pretty cool how the process goes, guys. So in order to make these Porsche 911s wide, you have to cut the body. And a lot of people hearing that are like, what did you just say? I mean, air-cooled Porsche is already worth a lot of money. So Nakai-san is the original OG. He is the one that created this company in Japan. That is where their main hub is to build these cars. It's crazy how the process starts. You basically call in RWB, you set up an appointment, you figure out exactly which body kit you want. Now the starter body kit, I guess you can say, package is $25,000. That is before Nakai-san flies out there to install it for you. That is before you do custom offset wheels, because obviously your Porsche is going to be a lot wider now, so you need different wheels and tires. That is also before you pay the body shop to paint the body kit, which is 2 fenders, 2 bumpers, and 2 side skirts. It can reach up to $40,000 to have this body kit installed. I think what makes this super cool is the fact that Nakai-san is the only one that will install the body kit for you. Different locations you can ship the body kit to, but once they get there, he flies out and he installs it. Now he only does about 100 or so kits a year, which means you could be waiting a few months to a few years until Nakai is actually in that part of the world where you're located, and he kind of flies out and does the whole thing. So super cool. Would love to see one in person, but I want to hear your opinion. What do you think about an air-cooled Porsche, or any Porsche for that matter, being cut up to the point like it is done by Nakai-san for RWB body kits? Also, I wonder, do you gain any value by having the RWB kit installed? Like, can you get the full $40,000 back out of it? And let's move on to the last segment called Did You Know? Did you know that in 2025 there's going to be over 16 electric vehicles, different models coming out for the US market. Here's the whole list of all of them coming out. The three that I'm very interested in is the Cadillac Escalade IQ. The reason I'm interested in that one is because it's going to weigh over 9,000 pounds. Yes, it's going to have a big battery and have over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque because electric motors, but that is a heavy car. I wonder how long those batteries are going to last on that. That is a big vehicle to get a big range from. The other one is the Cayman 718 that's going to be electric. I know the electric is getting pushed on all the sports cars. I'm personally a big believer of the hybrid system for sports cars, just like Ferrari has the gasoline motor with a turbocharger on it, with the electric motor on the side helping to get that quicker off the line times. Makes all the sense to me, gives it more torque. The last vehicle is the Tesla Model Q, also known as Model 2. It is supposed to be even smaller than the Model 3. Elon is trying to focus on the market of the lower price point for people to be able to get into electric vehicles. I wonder what it's going to look like, how much space it's actually going to have. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below what other topics you want me to cover in the next episode, and I will see you in a few days. Peace.